So Haas has a new machine out. Some of you may have seen this, and I am super excited about it, but not for the reason that you might think. This machine has been a little bit controversial on social media. It's only been out for like a day, but there's already been a lot of argument about it. Let me show you. So if we come to the Haas website, you can take a look at this machine. There it is. Now, you may recognize this machine as being awfully similar to a Fanuc Robodrill. And I think that's where a lot of the social media conversation is centering around, but I think that is the wrong way to approach it. If we go back over here and look at the pricing, they are starting at $40K. Now, that is a sale price. However, Haas machines are always on sale, though it does not include some of the features that would just be dumb to not include, like high-speed machining. So you can consider this about a $45,000 machine, starting with the bare minimum loadout. Robodrills, they're a lot more than that. I don't know what they are. I've never gotten a quote on one, but I believe a well-outfitted Robodrill is in the neighborhood of $80K. Now, so that's why I don't think this is the right comparison. You shouldn't be comparing it to a Robodrill. Yes, they look the same. However, if we go over to Syil, they have this little machine called the X7, which once you outfit this out pretty well with all the options, it comes to about $45K, which is about where the Haas lands. And when you start comparing the specs on these, they start to get awfully similar. Now, they look the same because they're both knockoffs of the original Robodrill design. Syil knocked them off first, and then Haas knocked off the Syil machines. And if we look at the specs on this Robodrill here, let me find them. Or excuse me, on the Syil machine, the X7. So BT30, 12,000 RPM. Haas, BT30, 10,000 RPM. Of course, both have different options. This has a 21 tool changer. The Syil, I believe, ships with a 12 standard, but that can be optioned to, I believe, 21. Let's check weights. That's actually an interesting comparison. Size and weight, so 4,800 pounds. Where's the size of the Haas machine? Okay, the Haas machine is quite a bit heavier. It's 7,500 pounds, so that's interesting. 15 horsepower on the Haas, and there's a bunch of different options for the Syil. I think it's quite a bit lower, but again, it is a little bit cheaper of a machine, and you can run it on single phase. Maybe it's a little bit more fair to compare the Haas machine to the Syil T5, which is just a tad more expensive, a tad heavier, tad bigger. Really actually not that much different than their X7. I'm not sure all of the specifics really matter that much. The point is, they're the same class of machine. I think it's safe to say that this is below the class of something like a VF2, but above the class of something like a Tormach 1100 MX. There's that kind of gap there that has existed in machines for a while that Haas ignored, and now Syil has been slowly starting to take over. I would say they are definitely the most popular machine in that class, kind of the $30,000 to $50,000 machine class. A little background on Syil. I actually almost bought a Syil. I was minutes away from placing my PO when I ended up choosing to not place it, and I went with a Haas. The reason why is because Syil is a Chinese company. And at the time, they did not have a great support system in the US. They had no US-based service at all. You could get a hold of English speakers if you had a basic question, but if you had a more complicated question, you would have to go over WhatsApp to talk to a Chinese engineer. Now, those Chinese engineers were perfectly capable of talking to you. They spoke English well, and they were very knowledgeable. However, they were still on the opposite side of the world, which made things like time zones incredibly annoying. They also have parts in the US, or they had parts in the US. Maybe. They probably had what you need if your machine broke down, but not necessarily. And sometimes you might have your machine go down and have a part that was overseas. That scared me. That's why I did not go with a Syil. Instead, I went with a 20-year-old Haas over that Syil because I wanted the US-based support system, and the going to a used machine with a good support system I thought was safer than a new machine with a support system overseas. That was my logic. Syil has been slowly coming up over time. They're starting to get popular. You don't see them a lot on like social media. You don't see them a lot on YouTube. You do see them a lot on Instagram because it is smaller people like me who are buying them. John Saunders wasn't buying them. This old Tony wasn't buying them. ClickSpring not buying Syils. It's just not a good fit for any of them. But then we got the earth-shattering news that a Mr. Titan of the Titan CNC Academy signed a partnership deal with Syil. Now, if you don't know who Titan is, he is a big name in the machining world, particularly because of the CNC Machining Academy. I swear every machinist I have talked to who has been self-taught has used the Titans of CNC classes. Titan has a very specific personality. Some people love him. Other people have strong opinions about him. No matter what you think about Titan himself, you cannot deny that his academy has done great things for the machining world. We're training machinists. We're bringing up the average skill level of the machinists in the United States and across the world. And I think that only benefits the entire world. So it was a really big deal when Mr. Titan signed a deal with Syil to become their U.S. distributor and representative. If we go to their website, you can see right here, Syil, and you can buy a Syil on their website. It says, U.S. support and sales. And it gives you the machines and the pricing. Now, I think you still have to get a quote if you want to option these out, but it's right there on their website. I would have bought a Syil if Titan had been representing them when I was shopping for a machine. The X5 and X7 machines simply provide more capability per dollar than the low-end Haas machines. Up until recently in this new DC1, the best you could do to get a cheap Haas machine with capabilities that are roughly equivalent to the Syil was a mini mill with a couple options on it. And if you build out a mini mill to what I would consider is the bare minimum of a functioning mill, you are looking at about $45,000, and I would still say this is inferior to the Syil machine of the same price. So this is what I think is happening. I think Haas has realized that there's a market where they are not competitive in. There is a whole group of people that they do not have a good product for. So I don't think this new Haas machine is intended as a clone of the Robodrill. They already had the DT series machines. I think this machine is a response to Syil. I've heard that Haas has been working on this machine for a while, and so therefore it can't be a response to Syil. But I think Haas is really smart. They are a good company, despite what people may say about them. I like Haas, actually. I think they've been doing a great job lately. But I don't think the timing of this machine is a coincidence. This is the kind of machine announcement that you make right before IMTS. That's what they did with the UMC 350 2 years ago, and I bet they were going to do the same thing again with the DC1. But Syil pushed them into announcing it early. I really hope that Haas has not rushed the manufacturing and the design of this machine. I hope they have had a long time to work on it because I want this machine to succeed. I really like the idea of the DC1, and I would gladly take one myself. Like, that is a machine that I would buy myself, even over the Syil, which I think might be a better value. But again, the Haas service system is just so much more built out than Syil system. So here's why I think that's a big deal. Let's go over to the Haas price sheet. Rigid tapping is $2,000. High-speed machining is $4,000. Those are things you get when you buy the machine. They are software unlocks. They are nothing but pure profit for Haas. Haas could lower their prices, but they don't because they don't need to because they don't have competition. I like Haas. I want them to succeed, but I want them to have competition so they make decisions that are good for the consumer. I want Syil to come in here and just beat the pants off of Haas so they can get their act together. This is just like when Japanese car companies came into the US in the 70s and 80s. American cars sucked at that point when compared to a Japanese car. So when these smaller, more efficient, cheaper cars that were higher quality with better build standards came into the US, Ford and Chevy and all these other companies had to get their act together because they were getting outcompeted. I really want to see the same thing again. I want to see Haas get outcompeted by Chinese companies. I want the CEO of Haas to be losing sleep over this. No, we're not there yet. Companies like Syil have a long way to go to get a reasonable foothold in the US. But this could be the start of some fierce competition that I think the industry needs. Now, a lot of people have issues with Syil because it is a Chinese company. Obviously, some of the business practices that the Chinese government lets their companies get away with are less than ideal. I do care about the people in China. I want to see them have more rights. I want them to be able to live in more humane conditions. I want them to make good living wages. I do not care if US companies think it is unfair. Look, this is the real world, not a playground. There's no teacher that's going to step in when the big mad machine company starts to steal some of your sales. Yeah, their labor's cheaper, but you know what? They had to ship their machine 3,000 miles across the ocean. They don't speak the same language as their customers. Heck, lots of Americans won't buy Chinese just because they want to buy American. If they can compete against all of that, they deserve to eat the sales of American companies. If American companies want to maintain their market share, they're going to have to outcompete those foreign companies. Competition in this area means better machines for a lower price. That is an overall win for the consumer. And I think this price point of machines is particularly important. This price point is high enough that it's outside of somebody who's just wants to tinker with a machine, or at least most people. Some people can afford it. But it's low enough that it's not like big companies buying these machines. It's people like me who are in a small shop in their garage trying to get something started. It's the people with companies that are small enough that they can try risky, innovative things, but big enough that they can actually make a difference. Somewhere in the world, there is a company right now, there's probably several of them that are little companies, one-man, two-man operations in a small shop or a garage. And those companies are going to grow. They're maybe not going to be Apple or Google, but they're still going to be Fortune 500 companies. Putting better machines in the hands of those people at a reasonable cost just helps drive innovation, and it makes the world a better place. So yeah, I want Syil, this Chinese company, to come in and give Haas a bloody nose. Obviously, we're only like 24 hours into the situation. I'm a nobody. I don't know what's going to happen. But that is what I want to see. That's what I hope happens. I think the big thing to remember is let's not just hate on Syil because they're a foreign company. Their competition is actually good for the United States, not bad for it. Anyway, I don't normally do videos like that. Thank you for watching this hot take, and I'll see you later.